So I just want to explore a little bit more with you the concept of lines of symmetry and as they relate to letters in the alphabet, because this is a commonly used example and you might even see at some point a test question that deals with it. So we can talk about the letter A. Okay, let's talk about the letter A. Here we've got a letter A. And the question might be, does the letter A have a line of symmetry? And if so, what is it? And does it have more than one line of symmetry? Well, here I've actually lined up letter A, capital letter A, with its line of symmetry. So if we reflect the line, if we reflect across this line the letter A, we should end up with the letter A in the same position. Let's see if that's the case. So if we reflect letter A, that's sort of like flipping it over like this. And just because the other side wasn't darkened in, I sort of try to make it look like the same as the other side. You can see that we're back to the letter A again. So letter A does have an axis of symmetry, and it's a vertical axis of symmetry. As we flip A over it, we will get A. Now, does A have any horizontal axis of symmetry? So if I take the same axis, and we're talking now about a horizontal axis of symmetry. Does A have a horizontal axis of symmetry? Well, if we flipped A over a horizontal axis, we would get this. Does that look like the letter A? No, of course not. So A does not have a horizontal axis of symmetry. Okay, let's talk about letter B. Let's reset this again. Letter B looks like this. Does letter B have a vertical axis of symmetry or line of symmetry? Sometimes we call it axis of symmetry. So does B have a line of symmetry that's vertical? Well, the way to find out is to flip it over this line and see. Does that look like the letter B? No. Okay, so B does not have a vertical line of symmetry. What about a horizontal line of symmetry? Let's take letter B and let's flip it over this horizontal line, like such. Okay, so we flipped it up and down. Does that look like the letter B? Yes, assuming that both of these are the same size. The way this letter B looks, I'd say that looks pretty close to the letter B. I'd say letter B has a horizontal, the capital letter B has a horizontal axis or a line of symmetry. Okay, let's look at the letter C. Let's go back to a vertical line. Let's ask the question, does the letter C have a vertical line of symmetry? So again, we have to flip it over this line, like such. Does that look like the letter C? I don't think so. Okay, so the letter C does not have a vertical line or axis of symmetry. What about a horizontal line or axis of symmetry? Let's try that. Got letter C, got a horizontal line, and now if we flipped C over the horizontal line, it would go like that. And is that the letter C? Yes. So the letter C does have a horizontal axis of symmetry. When we flip it over that line, it would be the letter C. It would stay as the letter C. Let's talk about the letter D. Well, let's set it up first with a vertical line. Does letter D have a vertical line of symmetry? And if we flip it over this line like such, that doesn't look like D anymore. So I would say no, it does not. Okay, but if we looked at horizontal, let's ask us a question, does it have a horizontal line of symmetry? And if we flipped it over this line horizontally, the horizontal line, we would have a D looking like that. And that does look like the letter D. So the letter D does have a horizontal line of symmetry. Okay, so far we've seen lines that have either a vertical or a horizontal line of symmetry. There are some letters that have both. The letter X, for example, has both lines of symmetry, and some have neither. So let's look at a letter that doesn't have any axis of symmetry, like the letter G, at least the capital letter G. So let's start with our vertical line, and let's take the letter G and let's flip it over this vertical line. And what we end up with is something that is certainly not the letter G. Okay, so the letter G does not have a vertical line of symmetry. And if we look at a horizontal line of symmetry, such as this, and then we try to flip G over this line like such, well, it looks a little bit more like E than it looks like G, right? So letter G certainly doesn't have a vertical, doesn't have a horizontal. In fact, it doesn't have any axis of symmetry at all. But I mentioned that the letter X has several axes of symmetry, so let's take a look at X. And here's the letter X. And let's look at our vertical line. And let's place our X on our vertical line. And let me fill in, I want to fill in the back part of X so it looks a little darker so we can see it better. Okay, so let's put X like such along a vertical line of symmetry and ask ourselves, does it have a vertical line of symmetry? Let's flip it over this line. Does that still look like the letter X? I'd say so. Okay, so X does have a vertical line of symmetry. As we flip it over this vertical line, we still stay with letter X. What about a horizontal line of symmetry? We can start with the letter X, and if we flip it over horizontally, like such, we still stay with the letter X. It maps into itself. Look at that again, and look at it again. So we would say that the letter X has both a vertical and a horizontal line of symmetry. In fact, the letter X has at least 2 lines of symmetry. The letter G we saw had no lines of symmetry, and then A through D, we saw that most of those letters had 1 line of symmetry, either vertical or horizontal.